So younger folks are leaning towards video games and esports. That is one hell of an experience in that space. 10,000 people in the space out of 15K arena. That wasn't really expected.
I always had this fixation on video games. And I started working with different companies to cover esports.
MLG is just Major League Gaming. I was just obsessed.
Collegiate esports is one of the most exciting new opportunities for employment in the world. A colleague who originally was a teacher of mine, named Dr. Christopher Alexander, invited me to come out and basically hang out with him and have coffees while he was out at Humber. And we got to talking about what could be possible around doing esports at the collegiate level. When we first reached out to the students, they went nuts. We, within weeks, went from having a few quiet words with a couple of students to having 30 or 40 kids talking to us like daily. And so the objective that we took for that first few years, we wanted to create the association and that fundamental culture of playing and competing. That was our core vision, was simply create the bedrock for professionalization and curriculum and everything else down the road. We want to create a room, a space for people to be able to embrace their culture, people to be able to play video games and enjoy video games and compete.
It is a safe space for folks to be in, to play video games, to play esports, interact with each other. Anyone who is interested in video games and esports, they can come to our spaces, they can sign up and look for joining our teams, they can work on our teams. The kind of culture of our teams is one on development and growth.
The expectation was just to have fun. When we were all at the school and we would meet every 2 weeks and talk to you, and I would see everybody at the CTI, it was like we were just all friends.
I didn't really know how to coach like Smash Bros specifically, because it's not really a team-based game. Like, it's a 1v1 type game, or maybe if you're lucky a 2v2 at most. There would be times where I would have different kind of like coaching sessions where I had the opportunity to elaborate on what I already know and also open my eyes to stuff that I didn't think were possible as a coach.
I didn't expect to form a team or for the team to sort of form itself into what it was. And I think as I was building, the expectation was like, all right, we could place top 16. We could place top 10. Oh, add another player, we could place top 8. Yeah, we could definitely win.
Part of the challenge in the industry, especially dealing with people who are older and have a more 1980s, 1990s perception of video games, is this lingering perception that anybody who plays video games is a basement-dwelling nerd who lives in their mom's basement. I am not joking when I say that I hear that line from someone aged 40 or over once a week, still, to this day. I literally heard it in a conference call yesterday, before this interview. It happens constantly. And that perpetuated stigma is probably the biggest individual barrier to professionalization or adoption on a professionalized scale that we deal with.
Yes, there is a huge stigma that's out there that says video games cause violence, but that is most certainly not true, because people are looking at the outside of what the game has to offer, but they're not really looking at what's actually inside and what actually goes on behind the scenes.
Esports is the professionalization of competitive video gaming.
Similar to what you might think of traditional sports, people competing for a prize in some kind of measured way. This is the exact format that's happening as well, just that the environment they're playing in is in video games.
Like, if every team has a personal trainer in traditional sports, every esports team is going to have a personal trainer as well.
Equipment managers, social media managers, PR coordinators.
They're going to have a team manager. They're going to have all these people that would be in a traditional sports team.
You may not necessarily think of that being an esports job,
but the roles are all the same, and the passionate people behind it are all the same.
A lot of people want to speculate on, will League of Legends or will any esports title outdo professional sporting events? And I think the thing that will really shock people is it already is. When you look at events like the Super Bowl, where it has, several million people watching, the live viewership of the Super Bowl is about 30, 40 million people. But it's very easy to lose context to that. That's just in North America. Esports titles are global events, and the World Championship viewership for the International, for League of Legends, dwarfs the viewership of these major sporting events. It's really tough to try and explain video games to people, especially when a large portion of the people who are making decisions at the college and university level, or at the very least involved in the discussion, never played a video game in their lives. Or the last video game they played was like Pac-Man. It's not to speak ill of them, it's just the context is lacking. And that's fine, they just didn't play video games, that's okay. It does make conversations very difficult though sometimes.
We were specifically told that when some of our department administrators, they went down to Las Vegas for the major tech show down in Vegas every year, they experienced esports themselves in person, right? And that really helped jumpstart things, that when we came back and we taught them about what esports about, what production and what the scale of any kind of event was like, they understood because they had experienced it themselves firsthand.
And so I think that was a huge boon to the conversation, because they would sit in a room with Dr. Alexander and myself, and we'd say all these great things about video games and show them videos of giant CGI dragons flying into Olympic stadiums. And that's all well and good, but then to go to a professionalized event where their contemporaries, people their age, people who work in fields they're familiar with, are also waving their arms around and going, esports, esports, suddenly legitimizes that conversation so much more.
Anyone can tell you about how much and interesting, how much an intense experience that is being in that kind of full stadium alongside tens of thousands of other fans.
They've got three. Impact goes down. An ace for TSL.
But that is never the same feeling as actually being there in person in that kind of space, directly seeing it yourself, feeling it yourself. That also exists for esports in a similar format, being in that esports arena in an event with thousands of people around you, almost like culture shock. That, wow, you know, there's this many people that care about this thing I've almost never heard about, you know?
Just not understanding what goes on behind the scenes with esports. And it's through nobody's fault except the game they're watching. Nobody really shows what's going on behind the scenes. So it's just a matter of like trying to educate yourself. And as an outsider, if you were truly curious and you weren't just pessimistic saying, oh, what is this, video games? Then you'll realize it sooner or later.
I think the shift in culture globally has had a massive impact on esports. Esports literally would not be what it is without some of the advances we've had in technology and culture over the last decade.
I've definitely built an extreme appreciation for those people playing at the highest level because I tried. So I would think not only is it playing at the highest level, but really putting 16 hours a day, mentally and physically, into being the best you can at what you want to do. And it really shows the difference. Like if you had a conversation with somebody who plays casually and plays professionally, and you understood the game enough to listen to their words, it just really goes to show like human capability and how crazy video games can go.
I have no interest in taking credit for any of the incredible things that those kids did. Every step that those students made, they made themselves, and they are responsible for their own excellence, and they've done some incredible stuff already. I think the only thing I can take credit for in terms of the impact I had was just giving them the space to be the amazing people they became.
Always going to be societal pushback. We're still dealing with that, without a doubt.
It's a new world of possibilities and opportunities for you to grab on as long as you're willing to take that leap of faith.
It's just a matter of refining what kind of people we need in the industry. And I honestly think like esports is going to grow even more when they figure that out. The golden age still isn't here yet.